All right, this video is for parents of teens and preteens. We're going to talk about how to talk to your kids about porn. You know that pornography has more of a chance of ruining your kid's life than drugs or guns or bad politicians or anything else. So here's how to talk about it. I'll give you 4 tips. All right, the first thing that you're going to need to know if you really want to have this conversation is you're going to have to be brave. You know, it's hard to talk about pornography, sex. These are some of those topics that no parent likes to talk about. But listen, if you don't talk about it with your kids, somebody's going to do it. So wouldn't you rather talk about it? Wouldn't you rather help them to understand how to think about pornography than letting some kid at school or some friend or the internet or whatever? Ask yourself, where do you think your kids are learning about sex and pornography? And ask yourself, what are they learning about it? The second tip is to call it what it is. Call it an addiction. What pornography does to your heart, what it does to your brain, is really no different than what drugs do. So it can create this addictive impulse in our kids. So it's not just some silly little thing. It's not just some insignificant habit that your kids can fall into. Make sure your kids know that opening the door to this destructive habit can change the entire course of your kids' lives. Talk with your kids about someone who's had an addiction, pornography or drugs or alcohol addiction. Talk about how it has affected their relationships, their marriage, their life, their work, everything. All right, here's a third tip. Share your story. Now, this is a hard one because parents, it's difficult to admit to your kids, maybe if you've struggled with pornography or even some other addiction before, but share your story. The last thing you want is for your kids to think that you're perfect and you've never had any problems, because then they're going to withdraw. And instead of sharing their temptations and their problems with you, they're going to talk with some friends about it, or they're just not going to talk to anyone about it. And those kinds of things, secrets and shadows, that's what really drives kids into deeper guilt and shame and deeper addiction. One of the things that I talked about with my son is how different porn is today than when I was a kid growing up. It's so much more difficult. It's so much harder today on kids because they've got access right there on their phones 24/7. And that leads to the last tip. Make a plan. Make sure that you brainstorm with your kids. How can I help you? How can I come alongside you and help you to make right choices and not to fall into this addiction? View it as walking shoulder to shoulder with your kids on this topic rather than sort of nose to nose and telling them what they're supposed to do. Get them to participate with you. If they understand why porn is a problem, then they're going to walk with you and talk about, well, what can we do to make sure that I don't fall into this addiction? Make a commitment to talk about it in the future. You can't just have this conversation one time and then walk away from it. Make sure you talk about the friends that they have. Make sure that they are involved in a good friend group, that maybe they make a pact together not to fall into this addiction. Talk about boundaries and limits that they set on their use of the phone, or maybe some apps that they can put on their phone to protect them from this. One thing that we did with our kids is we said, hey, maybe you should put your phone away at night and not bring it down to your room. They got on board with us because it's not just something that we want them to do. It's something that they want to do, because porn is a problem, and that's why you need to talk about it with your kids. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for weekly conversations on how to do life better.